Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, it is that time to hear from you, the listeners. What have you been keeping inside all week? Have you been frustrated? Have you been excited? Have you been something in between? What questions do you have for me? That's what this platform is for. And by the way, before I get into the emails, I want to let you know, if you want to participate, you can. Email us at realwwepodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet me at wrestling_audio. You can Instagram us at WWE_podcast, or you can flat out good old fashioned call us. Because believe it or not, I heard a rumor that our smartphones actually can make phone calls. I don't know where I heard this, but apparently it's true. You can call us at 518-952-0247. So I want to get that out of the way right up front. And you can also join us on Patreon for an ad-free experience, just $1 a month. Head on over to Patreon, get all of our podcasts ad-free, get a shout-out on the show, and you can join us on a podcast if you become a pay-per-view level patron. On top of all of that, you get priority positioning in our mailbag shows. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So this comes to us, a patron from New York, Jim in New York, writes to the show here and starts off by saying, I want to thank you for the little extra perk of being a patron. You have mentioned in the past that we can eliminate the commercials, but for your listeners to participate in the mailbag each week, this is a must-have. Well, thank you, Jim, for the promotion. I guarantee to have your voice heard on the mailbag and first. And for me personally, using the Patreon app, I have this direct conduit to Matt using the text feature, and Matt actually responds, which is cool. Yes, I do. The rumors are true. Jim, thank you for the kind words. All of that is true. Checks in the mail. Okay, he says, I want to start off by continuing with the topic I brought up last week, the network moving to Peacock. I've been using it since launch and had a couple thoughts. I know I mentioned I heard somewhere that Peacock would not have the chapter select feature, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case. Hopefully in the next few weeks or months, they can add this slowly to all titles. Yeah, first of all, your point, yes, it is annoying. I don't like having I'm not used to it yet. I don't want to judge it yet. It is fresh on Peacock. I don't know how long they had, what their lead time was to get all the content on and to do the best they could with it. So it's still new. It's as new as it'll ever be. And I don't like the way it's organized at all. I mean, I got really used to the WWE's nice organized format. They did a nice job over the last 8 years or however long it's been. And I like the chapter select. Here you have to just kind of like search all their content. There's no like WWE hub. It's driving me up a wall. But yeah, I hope they add that. Your second point, after listening to Nostalgia last week, I went to the match of Main Event 31, but it's not there. Then, in honor of my nostalgic moment of Warrior versus Hogan, I went to that match from Mania 6, but it's not there either. They also do not have Manias 23 and 28, but I found it funny that those two in particular were not there. Wow. Well, I think they're starting to add those because I looked at WrestleMania 23 earlier today. It was there. Maybe it popped on and off. I don't know about 28, 6, and 31. I don't know, but I think that there's glitches that are going to happen. But it's funny that one was not there. So certainly, it's one of those things that it's a growing pain with Peacock. I know that we're all a little bit trying to get used to this and frustrated with it. It's going to take time. We all complain at first, but having missing content is frustrating. But things will get better. I really do believe that. Okay. You said, next, I took your advice and went to watch the latest Broken Skull sessions with Sasha. Let me preface this by saying I loved the episodes with Drew and Bailey. I agree. They both came across as genuinely really good people, and you can tell they have such a love for pro wrestling. Seeing Drew as a kid sleeping in bed with Austin bed sheets was awesome. Yeah, I agree. But then Sasha, wow. To quote a term that I hear my son saying, watching Sasha on this episode was cringe. Yeah, I think that's what the kids say now. Cringe. Yeah, I think that is a thing. That awful laugh she does on TV. Apparently that's her real laugh. Yeah, that's Jim. You're right. That is obnoxious. That's her true laugh, apparently. Oof. Okay, you continue. And you said had to have heard it about 4 or 5 times throughout the interview. And she just has this look on her face, the head bob back and forth, like Austin was lucky to be in her presence. I totally agree, Jim. Like, not just a little bit, like all of my agreeingness, all of my agreeability is given to you here. I mean, she was like flipping her hair, like almost like kind of you're beneath me. I'm sure she didn't really mean that, but boy, her body language said something different, didn't it? It was almost like she couldn't get out of character, but that's if that's who she truly is, it's very unattractive. So you continue, Jim, and you said she just had this look on her face. No, I already read that. Supposedly there will be another episode today with Randy Orton. Yes, there is. I've seen about 90% of it. It's another absolute must watch. I mean, they also kill a bottle of Jack Daniels during the show. For real. I mean, I'd be drunk off my you know what, but boy, they killed that bottle of Jack. So anyway, you go on to say he's one of my all-time favorites, but unlike Drew, I know he is a complete jerk in real life. Supposedly he has grown up and turned it around in recent years, so I can't wait to see this episode. I've heard the phrase, never meet your heroes in real life, and I always thought of him with that phrase. I've met Jericho, RVD, the Hardys, JBL, and a host of others, but I would never want to meet him because I do think my opinion would change of him. I'm really hoping for a good impression of him on the Broken Skull sessions. Yeah. So that's all for now, Jim. Thank you, as always, Jim, for taking the time. You always have very in-depth thoughts. That's good. I mean, I don't mean that facetiously. Like, that's cool. And I will say this, I'm not going to spoil the show for you with the Broken Skull sessions with Randy. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It seems to me as if the growing up for him took a long time, but it seems like he may have gotten there. So thank you, Jim, for your email. Much appreciated. And feel free to call or email. All right, let's see here. Now we're getting into... You know what? Let's go to Instagram. I know I had somebody on Instagram. I promised them that they would get on the show here. So let's go to Instagram. Aha. Here we go. This is from HBK, Fazio. I don't know. I'm bad at pronouncing stuff sometimes. And HBK says, and not sure if this will make the cut for the mailbag. Well, guess what it is. But something that really has gotten to me was the fact that WWE is going to do 2-day WrestleMania events. I'm not sure if it had fit the pandemic, but it seems like it might be here to stay. I don't know if it's because I'm used to the one-night manias, but when I was younger, the best made it in the card. I understand people need to get paid, but they shouldn't they have kept it the way it's always been? You have the pre-show, then you have the show, which is the greatest stage of them all, WrestleMania. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And sidebar, what is your favorite WrestleMania? Although I'm one of the most jealous guys because you went to WrestleMania 20 live, I did go to Mania 35. I feel like WrestleMania 19 is also very underrated. What are your thoughts? Okay, a lot of stuff here, HBK. So I think, first of all, when it comes to WrestleMania going 2 nights permanently, I'll have to say, I think you're probably in the minority in terms of format. I know that I love being able to say there's 2 days of WrestleMania and they're easy to digest. It's like having a massive meal broken into 2 days, a great meal broken into 2 days, instead of just one massive meal that you get overfilled on. So I like the 2-day WrestleMania format. From the selfish fan perspective, I don't have to go there. I mean, there's a lot of logistics to it. If they were going to do this permanently, it sounds like, based on the fact that they have told us where WrestleMania 38 and 39 are going to be, Dallas, the greater Dallas area. I don't think it's exactly in Dallas in AT&T Stadium. And is it Arlington? I think actually Arlington, Texas. And then, of course, in LA for WrestleMania 39 in 2023. So, given the fact that they only gave 2 dates and they didn't say it's, 4 dates, I would think they're going back to one night. The one night is the only advantage is like, okay, you get it done in one night and you can see all the matches you want in one night. But by the time the pay-per-view is like 50% over, you're like, oh my God, we haven't even gotten to like the last 8 matches. I agree that the best of the best should be on there. I think that's gone by the wayside forever, and that everybody gets a participation award. And I'm not a fan of everyone getting a participation award. If they're telling us it's the Super Bowl of wrestling, then only the best of the best should be there, because at the Super Bowl, you don't have the teams that got knocked out in the first round or didn't make the playoffs there, do you? The answer is no. I mean, so, and it's a long day. If you're in person, I've been at WrestleMania. I've been to WrestleMania 20 and WrestleMania 33. And I can tell you from experience, WrestleMania 33 was infinitely longer, and you actually get sleepy, you get tired, you get hungry, you got to go to the bathroom. I mean, especially if you got kids. I don't know how people do it with kids. I just don't. So I'm all for a shorter WrestleMania if it's one night. I don't want to see a 7-hour WrestleMania anymore. I don't need to see everyone have a payday. I know it's selfish of me. And then people, you're not in the business. Why are you telling somebody not to get a paycheck? Well, I'm supposed to see the best of the best. Not everyone get a participation award in a battle royal. I'm being sold that this is the creme de la creme. I'm sold that this is the top of the mountain, and yet everyone's here, right? How is everyone at the top of the mountain for this pay-per-view? I don't know. It's very contradictory, but I'm totally with you. As far as let's see, what were your other questions? Oh, WrestleMania 19 being underrated. Yes, I agree. And yeah, don't be jealous. WrestleMania 20, other than seeing Austin stun both Goldberg and Brock Lesnar straight out of WWE, those were the last appearances they would have. The crowd was cheering for Austin the whole time. It was great. And seeing Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit win were probably the highlights. Outside of that, it was kind of like, John Cena won the U.S. title against Big Show. It was a great atmosphere, but yeah. So, all right. Well, Mr. HBK, thank you for your DM. Y'all slide right into my DM sometimes. All right. Let's get to the generic old email here. And let's see. Okay. This is from Dennis O'Brien. You say, hi, Dennis, from Cork City, Ireland. I hope this email finds you well. WWE releasing a potential star like Andrade was a big mistake. I can see Aleister Black going away also. And now they are repackaging Ricochet as Pretty Ricky. Oh, Lord. Wasn't Pretty Ricky a character by R-Truth at one point? I actually heard of this by the Botch guy. Vince McMahon needs to step away and let other people run the company. A lot of storylines are becoming pathetic. Certain talents are being treated like they don't matter. Shane and Braun need to F off. Yeah, I edited that. I love the podcast and amazing crew. Thank you, Dennis. Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah, I heard about the Pretty Ricky thing. The first time I heard it was the first time you heard it from the Botch guy on YouTube. And look, Ricochet needs something, though. Before this, what was Ricochet? The resident superhero of WWE? I mean, that's as bad as it gets. How is he a superhero? Because he can do crazy reversals? He can do, death-defying stunts? Is that what makes him a resident superhero? And he got killed by Brock Lesnar, basically, in his match for the WWE Championship. I was not a Ricochet personality fan. I think he's got a great look, amazing in the ring. But he didn't have the most important part of being a wrestler. The most important part is personality and on the mic, and he didn't really have either. So I'll let this Pretty Ricky thing go play out. I don't know if it was an R-Truth character. I don't remember. I'll take your word for it. It probably was. R-Truth said a lot of wacky stuff. I know Little Jimmy was one of R-Truth's imaginary friends. I don't remember about Pretty Ricky. Probably. As far as Vince and Braun and Shane need to F off. Yeah, that's just Vince McMahon, though. This is nothing new from Vince. Vince has been this way, although a little bit more coherent than he is now, over the last however many years he's been running the company. This is nothing new from Vince McMahon. That certain storyline or certain talents just seem to not matter. That's a ever-standing complaint from fans. I'm with you. I agree, but it's always going to be there. I don't care who is running the company. It will always seem as if somebody's being neglected, no matter who it is, because you can't push all talent the same height equally. It's just not how it works. It's a hierarchy, and it should be a hierarchy. So, but as far as Braun and Shane, yeah, that's a tough one right now. It's a tough one. I mean, the whole thing is built around Shane calling Braun stupid. I mean, it's middle school stuff here, guys. Middle school. But thank you for the kind words, Dennis. I appreciate it, and please feel free to email us back. Okay. This one, next email is from Julian from Chicago. He says, I assume it's a he. He says, first, given what happened at Fastlane, do you think that Daniel Bryan could be in the main event of WrestleMania with Roman Reigns and Edge? Also, could you do a show or segment on superstars you would like to see from different companies compete in WWE? First of all, yes, I could do a show like that. That's a good one. Maybe I'll do it post-WrestleMania, because right now WrestleMania is just clogging up the tubes, so to speak. But I like that. I will put that in my For a Rainy Day show. As far as Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania, I think it's already been reported by Brian Alvarez of The Observer. And not to promote other shows, he is good with what he does. Very good. I mean, successful. I would assume that he's correct that it's going to be Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania with Roman and Edge. It looks like a triple threat. And not only that we got it reported by a reputable source, but also the fact that the way the match ended, the finish of the match at Fastlane, would lead you to believe that Daniel Bryan should get another shot. Because he tapped out Roman. He tapped him out, except the referee wasn't there at the right time to see it to make the decision. So, Daniel Bryan, outside of that, I mean, they've only got 3 weeks left to WrestleMania, 2.5 weeks. Where does Daniel Bryan go if he's not in the main event of WrestleMania? Where does he go? The answer is, I don't know. So, to me, this is only Daniel Bryan's only path is a triple threat with Edge and Roman. Okay, thank you so much, Julian from Chicago. Hope you're doing well over there. Okay, let's see. Okay, this one's from Christopher Mylott. He says, do you feel that having number one contender matches are becoming more and more useless in WWE? I feel now all you have to do is come out and challenge the champion for the title, and you get a shot right away. Also, when they do have a match to be number one contender, they usually never get the next shot and give it to someone before them. Like, for example, Naomi and Lana won the number one contender shot before they got the title shot at the titles. They gave it to Sasha and Bianca, and also Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I think your example of Naomi and Lana winning and then not getting the next shot is a rare example. As far as you know, normally when someone becomes number one contender, they're conveying to the audience that's the next person in line. But when you really think about it, do they have to be next in line? I mean, it guarantees them a shot at the championship. It just doesn't guarantee when. Now, we've all just come to learn that 99 out of 100 times, the person who wins or team that wins the number one contendership is the next person in line. But when you think about it, it's never written in stone that they are the next one in line. So I believe that Naomi and Lana will get a shot at the women's tag titles. I think that what happened here was they realized that they have to give it to Bianca and Sasha first. I think they just didn't think this through, and Naomi and Lana are not exactly high on the totem pole of WWE management, and they probably looked at it and go, well, fans aren't going to really remember or care. Well, we do. I'm with you. So as far as your question about number one contender matches becoming more and more useless, I would say they're becoming more and more scarce. You know, like to your point, you say that people, all they have to do is come out and challenge the champion for the title, and you get a shot right away. That's a way that it happens. I also say that an even more common method of getting a championship match is Everybody say it with me. Class, 1, 2, 3, attack the champion. Very good. Because that's exactly how most teams or individuals, men and women, get a championship match, is just attack the champion. Period. End of subject. I don't like it. I don't need a tournament every time. But it would be nice to not just have the same way that somebody earns an opportunity. It actually is a completely backwards way that someone gets an opportunity by disrespecting a champion, attacking them, and then the champion rewards them by allowing them to get a shot at what they earned. Makes no sense. You know, again, I don't need a formulaic, well, it needs to be very rigid. This person has to be the number one contender before they can challenge for the title, and it needs to be in matches, a match that's determined as such. No, it doesn't always have to be that way. It could be something that happens backstage. Somebody bumps into somebody, turns into something. There's ways to do it. I don't need this boring, structured way, although it's certainly one that's not used anymore. Is, we're gonna have a tournament for a number one contendership or a series of matches. It's very underutilized. I wouldn't say it's useless. I'd say it's useless because it's not used. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. Thank you, Chris, so much for your email, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Okay, let's see here. Terry from Springfield, Tennessee, writes in and says, just a quick comment on the Hurt Business. First, MVP should keep his cane. It fits him perfectly. Second, why is Vince ready to disband the group? It's one of the most bright spots on Raw, and now it seems they won't be around for much longer. I almost knew once the group had all the gold that it wouldn't last long, but to me it showed dominance, especially when it seemed like Shelton and Alexander were finally on the same page. That was a little rant. I just wanted to know your thoughts. So, Terry. Yeah, first of all, as far as MVP keeping the cane, yeah, I mean, he's like MVP, the long lost son of the Godfather, right? If you guys get that reference, it does fit him. It also makes him feel kind of old, which I don't like. So I'm split on it. I like the look, but it also makes me go, It almost fits him too well where it does make him look a little aged. So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. As far as Vince disbanding the group, it does seem they're headed that direction. No question. And with Bobby Lashley this past week putting a bounty on Drew McIntyre's head, which I didn't really cover on Raw, and I realized after I published the show, it was weird. Bobby Lashley should not be doing this, going into a locker room and telling everybody, hey, basically, if you want to join the Hurt Business or you want a shot at this WWE Championship, the first person that takes out Drew McIntyre earns a shot at this. I mean, that's not what Bobby Lashley should be doing. Bobby Lashley is a destroyer. He should not want any help softening the guy up. That's not the story they should be telling. This should be an absolute wrecking ball, not somebody that needs help. So I did not like that on Raw. But as far as the group disbanding, it makes no sense if that's the case. And boy, there are major cracks right now. Vince just can't keep a group together for more than a few months. Look at what they did with Andrade and Angel Garza and Zelina Vega, a group that could have been amazing. Austin Theory was in that for a little while, and that just went right down the crapper very quickly. They never got on a roll, ever, arguing about nothing that fans don't care about. The Hurt Business gains more momentum than they probably anticipated. They get to the top. They all have the gold. And then that when they're at the top, the only way they have to go is down, but doesn't mean they have to disband the group. Just because you lose the championships doesn't mean you have to disband the group. That's the point I'm making. And I think that it could be because there's dissension among the ranks, and Lashley's mad at Shelton and Cedric, Alexander. It's a mess. It's a total mess. Seth couldn't keep a group. I know at one point we had King Corbin have cronies that he was managing. We had Apollo Crews have backup with the camo dudes. They're gone. I mean, I don't know why we can't just have a consistent group, a stable in WWE. I have no idea what the problem is. It's a lost art or a lost commitment by Vince, more specifically. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're going to make me rant, Terry. Thank you so much for your email. Alrighty, let's continue on here. Okay. Oh, from Mr. G-Man from Reading, Pennsylvania. He says, so I'm hoping the Riot Squad will face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania and they win the titles. I would love to see that. It'd be the perfect place to win it right there, and it would definitely put a smile on my face. I was always a big fan of Liv Morgan since watching her in NXT in 2014, and watching her documentary on the WWE Network was amazing. I agree. Definitely a future women's champion. But seeing her and Ruby win the titles of WrestleMania would be so cool. I really hope that happens. Also, damn you, Edge. I remember the times I said that a lot back to him back in 05 and 06. Good times, but man, I was really pulling for Daniel Bryan. I legit thought he was going to win. It has to be a triple threat match now at Mania, and I'd much like to see Roman as champ for much longer. I want to see Bryan win the title now. Lastly, does Shane McMahon eat a chili pepper quesadilla before he goes out to the ring and man, he sweats, but take care of yourself. Okay, I've got some thoughts on Shane at the end of this response here. So, do I think that it's going to be the Riot Squad straight up against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag belts at WrestleMania? No. But I do think they'll be involved in a multi-team, maybe beat the clock challenge or fatal 5-way, fatal 4-way elimination tag team match for the women's tag team belts. I think that they will absolutely drop the women's tag belts. It could be for the Riot Squad. I would think that'd be the right move. I think it's a team that is long overdue in a prominent position. I would also be concerned about the follow-up, though. I mean, remember when the Iconics won it and then they just went nowhere? So I'm totally with you, though. I think the Riot Squad is absolutely deserving. I would like to also have the Riot Squad get a damn voice on Raw. They've gotten 0 mic time. None. And that's killing them. You talk about handicapping somebody and really tying their hands. If they can't talk, we can't invest. So I would just like to say that. But as far as Daniel Bryan, we all know it's going to be a triple threat, I think, at this point. So I think the reason Daniel Bryan is being inserted into the main event of WrestleMania, again, we'll get confirmation on Friday. They could throw a curveball, but it's a very, very high likelihood Daniel Bryan is inserted into the main event. That Daniel Bryan's there to take the pinfall for Edge. Edge becomes champion, but it also saves face for Roman, who loses his mind because he wasn't involved in the decision. He was never pinned, which keeps the heat on Roman, and it also gets the belt to Edge without hurting Roman. And Daniel Bryan's the scapegoat. That's how this happens. I can already see it. And I have mixed feelings on that, but we'll talk about it when that's confirmed. As far as Shane McMahon, I don't know what his issue is. I mean, sometimes he can cut good promos. Sometimes it's like I'm out there for the first time cutting a promo. I mean, he looks like a cow on ice or a deer in headlights, I think is a better analogy, which is weird considering he's Shane McMahon. I mean, sometimes he stumbles, sometimes he drags on way too long, other times he's really good. Sometimes he feels like he's reading from a script. Shane McMahon is the most inconsistent promo I think I've ever seen. Shane McMahon is so inconsistent. It's like he dedicates time one week, doesn't dedicate time to his words the next week, reads from a script next week. It's all over the place with Shane. I don't know what to expect when he's on the mic. No idea. But as far as him sweating, yeah. Sweating, and he's always out of breath. I mean, does he do 100 burpees before he comes out? I'm not following why Shane McMahon is just consistently out of breath when he gets out to the ring, or just even walks onto the ramp and picks up the mic. I'm like, what are you doing back there, man? Can you, whatever you're doing, don't do it. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's this weird ritual of doing jumping jacks or like, squat thrusts before he comes out. He's constantly sweating and out of breath. And I don't understand it. He's doing something backstage. So who knows? Thank you, G-Man. Hope you're doing well over there in Pennsylvania. All right. Let's take a look here. We're winding down the emails a little bit here. You guys pounded me. We didn't have a whole lot for the mailbag until today. You guys just slammed me with emails and voicemails the last few hours. So I thought I was going to have a pretty easy ride this show, and nope. So I'd like to thank you kindly for that. Kind of mean it, kind of don't. Okay. Nathan Palmer writes to us and says, I was wondering if you could, I can message you on here and get on the mailbag. Well, yes, you can. As you know, I'm Nathan from Sydney, Australia. Been listening to you for about 12 months and love the show. First time writer, but I think you'll be hearing from me more frequently. There's a couple things I want to touch on. The first, Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. I think The Fiend's return was a bit underwhelming. Interesting take. It was built for so long, I just don't know whether I expected too much or whatever. But I know with Randy and Bray being the two great veterans they are, they're going to make this build to WrestleMania excellent. The match itself was advertised as a normal wrestling match, yes, so why didn't the referee start counting Alexa and Randy out when they were out of the ring, and why didn't Alexa get DQ when Randy was attacked by The Fiend? Instead, Alexa pinned Randy for the 1-2-3. Yeah, I pointed that out too. It was billed as a straight-up wrestling match, no special stipulations, and Randy should have won that match. These are the details WWE doesn't even think about. Why not just say it's a no DQ match? Because, it would have been really obvious The Fiend was coming back. We all knew The Fiend was coming back anyway. I wanted it at WrestleMania, but it was very possible that I said he could appear here. I mean, so these are the details, guys. Like Randy should have won that match. He should have by DQ. But that's not the way the story is going, and that's not the way they wanted it to go. So Randy loses because reasons. So it's interesting you say the Fiend's return was underwhelming. You're probably the first person I've heard that from, and that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. But you say that, it was built for so long, you didn't know whether you expected too much. I could see that because it was built for 3 months. The Fiend was gone, just MIA, and Alexa Bliss was keeping him alive, so to speak, pun intended, I guess. And I just don't. What would have made it overwhelming? What would have made it perfect for you? That's a serious question, Nathan. I'm asking because what would have made it great? Did you not like the way that he was presented? Did you not like his outfit? I mean, I think his outfit is universally loved. Maybe it's the way he was used or how he would present. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious from you to know why you felt it was underwhelming. But yes, I'm sure that Randy and Bray are going to make it a great build to WrestleMania. And I agree. Okay, your next point. I noticed this with Apollo Crews. Since his heel turn, I've been noticing a lot of similarities to Kurt Angle. It started with his first promo with the accent and said something about the 3 B's straight away. I thought of Kurt Angle's the 3 I's. Since then, he's gone to adopt the 3 German suplexes, and he does move identical to the Angle Slam. I love his work, and he's doing, I love the work he's doing, and I thought I'd point that out. I did not know that. I didn't even put that together. He could be adopting a little bit of Kurt Angle there. I did not notice the Angle Slam similarity. Now I will. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for that. You go on to say, I don't know if you caught Randy on Broken Skull Sessions. It's a must watch. Absolutely. I did talk about this a little earlier. And it is up there with the Taker episodes. It's very good. It's amazing, guys. Also, just a shout out to anyone else in Sydney right now. We are experiencing major floods at the moment, so everyone stay safe, including you, Matt, and everyone listening. Well, luckily, I am just a little bit further away from Sydney than you are. I mean, I don't even know the mileage or kilometers or whatever units of measure y'all use, but I wowould say I'm fairly safe from the floods in Sydney. That's a good thing for me, selfishly. But to your point, though, yeah, obviously, if you're in Sydney or around the area, hopefully you're staying safe, and hopefully, Nathan, you're staying safe as well. I'm just waiting to get vaccinated. I'm getting there. I have about 3 weeks or so until I get vaccinated, so that's a good thing as far as the coronavirus goes. But I don't have to worry about floods up here. I mean, up in New York, it's mostly just snow. You get wind, you get occasional thunderstorms. I mean, we get every season, but it's very rarely extreme up here, so we're pretty lucky. So stay safe, and thanks for the kind words. All right, Nathan. Let's go to, let's see. Aha. Here we go. Mr. DJ Kuzmo writes in, my goodness, do you have a lot of thoughts. in like bullet form, but here we go. So you say, hey Matt, this is DJ Kuzmo. I'm sending you this email to share my thoughts on Fastlane because I lost my train of thought while recording on the mailbag. No problem. I've had people do that before. Certainly, I mean, because once you're in the voicemail, you can't delete it, right? So it's just kind of no safety net. So you say, firstly, Fastlane was an okay show, not terrible, not good, just said okay. Did you hear the Drew chants pumped to the max and the you suck chants to Roman? Yes, I did. That's funny you point that out. I can't wait till WrestleMania to hear real live fans voice their opinions loud and clear. I totally agree. I'm also still concerned that they're going to mess with the noise if it doesn't align with what they want. I really am concerned about that. They're not going to overtly do it to overpower those fans in attendance if something that they're doing doesn't align with what they want to hear. But I could see them tweaking or lowering the volume of the crowd. And perhaps since they've mastered the art of implementing artificial crowd noise, maybe pumping in some of that artificial crowd noise and lowering the volume of those in attendance. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying keep an ear out for it. Okay. During the main event match between Roman and Daniel, at some points, I don't know about you, but I felt that Daniel Bryan could have possibly won the title. Yes, I agree. That was the whole point of that match, was to make us believe that he could, even though most knew that Roman was going to retain. And I think they achieved that. They had me believing a few moments in that match. It was great. It was a really good match. Okay. And you said Edge went totally crazy and started attacking everyone with a steel chair. I was excited and wondered if Edge was turning heel. I really hope WWE gives us an awesome triple threat of Daniel, Edge, and Roman for the Universal title. I think it'll be awesome, number one. Number two, Edge turning heel is going to happen, but it's not going to be probably till later this year at the earliest. That's my thought. Second, The Fiend returning, in my opinion, was too soon. It should have been at WrestleMania. 100% agree. Kind of like how The Undertaker made his return repackaged as a dead man at WrestleMania 20 against Kane. That's the exact example I brought up. Yep, exactly. But they didn't feel that way. So my concern is, how does the WWE close the chapter on this ongoing feud with Randy and The Fiend, and what kind of stipulation is created for the match at WrestleMania, and could this be Randy's final WrestleMania appearance? No, this will not be Randy's final WrestleMania appearance. I know this because he said on the Broken Skull podcast, Broken Skull Sessions, that he said he'd like to continue doing this for another 10 years. He said that, and it wasn't joking. So no, this is not Randy's final WrestleMania appearance, guaranteed. But as far as the whole stipulation, I mean, I don't know where you go with beyond a real death match. I mean, that's the next logical step. Clearly they can't do it. I don't know. I have no idea what the stipulation could be. Infernal match is the extreme, so your guess is as good as mine, man. It's just House of Horrors. Are we going to do, in a Hell in a Cell Infernal match? I mean, they're going to have to combine stipulations. I don't know. For real. Okay, you say, thirdly and finally, one of the biggest swerves on the night didn't even happen on the Fastlane show itself, but it happened on the pre-show after Mustafa lost to Matt Riddle. I didn't really care for the match, but for the first time ever, I was excited about Retribution when Mason T-Bar chokeslammed Mustafa. It was awesome. I really hope this is the proverbial nail in the coffin for Retribution, so that it is overrated, overhyped, and much underwhelming group can finally break up and probably go back to NXT or the Indies or resurrect their wrestling careers, especially Dominic Dijovic. Anyway, that's all I got. Let the countdown really begin for WrestleMania. I'll talk to you soon. Best regards. Thank you, DJ. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan of Mustafa Ali. He's got a bright future if positioned correctly. I was excited when he took leader of this group, because I said, even though the group means nothing, he's a leader of something, and he gets mic time, and he was really good on what he did. But could this be the group, the nail in the coffin? Let's all hope so. Let's all hope the Retribution is all forgotten. I mean, it's right up there with Katie Vick. I mean, Retribution is a lost soul right from the beginning. So yeah, let's all just say a small prayer that Retribution dies a very fast death. As far as Mason T-Bar, I mean, Perhaps they continue demasked and do something. I don't know. It was nice to see that, this group could be disbanded, but also that Mustafa Ali could be the focal point of a storyline moving forward. That's also true. Okay. All right. Not too many more emails left, guys. Just a couple. And then we're going to get to those all important voicemails because my voice is starting to get a little bit hoarse here. So I'm going to read these next few emails and then we'll get to voicemails. I promise you. Okay. This is from Kevin Hurst. He says, "Hi, Matt. Hope you're well. I don't mind stars pointing at the WrestleMania sign at the Rumble like Bianca and Edge did. However, it needs to be left there. It's all getting very far-fetched now." Yeah, definitely it is. When I was growing up as a kid, I loved Hogan and Flair, and the early Hogan in WWE was my first hero. But come on, Vince, enough is enough. They need to step aside and let the new talent grow. If they want to appear at Raw or SmackDown Legends Night, fair enough. Love Rhea Ripley in NXT. Would say she has been badly booked since she lost the NXT title to Charlotte, but is it me or are they bringing her up way too much? They do realize some of us actually do watch NXT, right? Thank you for all the content you supply. It's absolutely outstanding. Love Mimi. Her shows have been a great addition. Take care. Well, you hear that, Mimi? You have another fan on the show. So, okay, a few things here. Everybody knows my thoughts on the WrestleMania sign pointing. I can live with it at the Rumble. I know that it's predictable, and I don't like it ever. I mean, I don't like it ever. I mean, I don't need the same thing being done by everybody every year, but I can live with it at the Rumble if they just get rid of it after the Rumble. They'll never do it. They'll never do it because they want to say it's the road to WrestleMania and have something to point the camera at. But it doesn't need to be used as a matchmaking tool anymore. But it's been used as a matchmaking tool throughout this entire WrestleMania build. It's been ridiculous. Even Triple H and Undertaker did it before WrestleMania 26, I believe. They just stared at each other, then stared at the sign. So it's a tool to be used to make matches. I'm not a fan. Even Bianca Belair used it as a weapon last week after Sasha punked her out, slapped her, and pushed her. And she goes, "Nope, Sasha, don't make me do it. Don't make me do it." And she pointed at the sign and just said, "At WrestleMania, I'm going to wait till WrestleMania," which made no sense. So, okay. But you continue to say, let's see here. As far as the Legends, yeah, I'm kind of over the Legends. Look, doesn't mean Stone Cold comes out, The Rock comes out, I'm not going to pop. But I don't need a WrestleMania built around Legends or announce that they're going to be there. Hogan being at WrestleMania to me is actually a downer. I hate saying that because of how much Hogan has meant to the business. I understand his personal issues, his racist comments. I'm putting them in a separate box. I'm looking at the performer, the wrestler, the Hulkster, not that part of Terry Bollea. So I'm with you on that. Rhea Ripley in NXT. I think the way that, you say that, does WWE realize some of us do watch NXT? Yes, I think they do. But you kind of answered your own question. You said some of us. They can't play to those that only know Rhea Ripley from NXT and they know more about Rhea Ripley than most fans do. They have to introduce Rhea Ripley as a brand new star to those that aren't watching NXT, because I think there is a large portion of the Raw and SmackDown viewing audience that don't watch NXT. So you can't introduce a star and assume everyone knows because, she's on NXT, so people know who she is. And that's true for, I think, a portion of the audience, but you have to play it like they don't, because you're alienating those people that don't watch NXT and don't know who Rhea Ripley is, or maybe heard the name but don't really know her, or don't know her work. You have to educate the fans and start from ground zero. Even if a lot of the fans that watch NXT go, "Oh my God, we know who she is. We don't need this." Again, the downside is you're alienating the fans that don't. And there are a lot of fans that just don't watch NXT. If you don't believe me, look at the ratings. The ratings kind of bear that out. So, okay, what else? I think that was it. I think that was your email. So thank you, Kevin. Please email back. All right, we're getting down to the final two here. The final two. Let's get to it. All right, this is from Kareem. He says, hey, dude, just caught up with the Fastlane and Raw reviews. Really enjoyed them. Thanks. Well, thank you. On your point about Riddle, I completely agree with you. I find his character super obnoxious. I think he's great in ring, but he just reminds me of an annoying brat. So I'm a school teacher, and I asked some of the kids in my school what they think of him, and the response was that I'm too old to find him funny in their eyes. He rocks. Haha. So perhaps it's a generational thing because they universally seem to love him. Well, Kareem, I believe you, number one. But number two, my question would be, what age group are you a teacher for? Because if you're a teacher in high school, I think that would be a different answer than maybe a teacher for an elementary level school. So I'm interested to know what age group that you're teaching, because I think that does matter. I'm going to assume I'll split the difference and say it's middle school. If it's middle school kids saying this, I mean, middle school kids, you're looking at what, 11 to 13 is middle school, 10 to, probably 11 to 13, which again, for me was like 6th to 8th grade. Then, it's a different mindset, right? And they are placating to a younger audience. I don't know. I still think the majority of the audience is probably like, yo, this dude is just unwatchable on the mic. Unwatchable. He's got a face you just want to punch. There's no redeeming qualities as for him as a babyface. None, character-wise. In-ring, we all agree, great. That's a non-issue. Okay. Your next point, you say, I agree with you on The Fiend's new appearance. It's pretty awesome. I hope there's a bit more wrestling involved in his match this year at WrestleMania. Going by last year's match against Cena, I hope it's not a repeat of that. I'm a big Orton fan, and I genuinely hope he gets the win. Probably an unpopular opinion. What sort of match do you think we can expect from them this year? Well, all they have to do is take 2 bumps instead of 1, and they've already outdone the match from last year. I'm not even kidding. I think there was 1 bump, and that was the Sister Abigail that John Cena took from Bray Wyatt. So you talk about a WrestleMania payday with, like almost no toll on your body. Phew. Cena lucked out last year. Now, I'm sure maybe his WrestleMania pay was affected. Maybe it wasn't. That's not for me to say. But it was certainly a match that I was not a fan of. I'll call it a match loosely. I know many of you loved it, and you could dissect it and probably do a thesis on it. You could do your dissertation on that match because of all the different levels of John Cena's career he went through and how the fans perceived him, and a lot of kind of inside baseball, so to speak, a lot of wink and nods and fourth walls and all that stuff. There was so much to dissect there. I mean, I'm serious. You could do a dissertation on it, but I think they'll do more. They have to. I mean, you can't go from a cinematic match last year with no fans to another cinematic match this year. You have live fans there, like real human beings in attendance. You can't do cinematic matches this year. Thank God. I'll just say that. So I think the match will be physical. It's going to be a lot of, again, no selling from The Fiend. A lot of no selling. So I don't know what you do about that. If you're not going to, again, it all comes down to if The Fiend can't be defeated by lighting him on fire, how is any wrestling move going to have an effect on him or be enough to defeat him? This is called booking yourself in a corner. But okay, you say, finally, really enjoying Nostalgia Podcast as always. I was wondering if you could get The Rock involved a bit more. Maybe his rivalry with Jericho would be a good one to do. Thank you, Kareem. I will put The Rock also in my back pocket. Maybe I'll do him for a WrestleMania match or something for next week. I really don't talk about The Rock that much. I mean, I know I did him for the return in 2011 recently. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll put The Rock on there. That's a good one. Okay, so you continue and say, thanks for the awesome podcast. I submitted my 5-star Frog Splash review, and you've got my backing to get into the top 10. You can do it, guys. Keep up the super work. Kareem from Mighty Gibraltar. Cool. Kareem, thank you for your 5-star rating and review. The 5-star Frog Splash. I'm going to take that. Maybe I'm going to copyright that. That's a cool little play on wrestling and also to get people to review us. Kareem, thank you so much. and ask what the heck is wrong with your students. Just ask them, just guys, what's wrong with you? Okay. All right. Let's go to our final email of the week, and then we'll get to those all important voicemails. He says, hopefully not too late. Believe me, you just squeezed it in. I hate how weak they're making Bobby and Roman look. Bobby has a back and forth match with Sheamus, but Drew gets to roll over Cedric and Shelton. Bobby puts a bounty on Drew. He looks so weak in just 24 hours. I did allude to that a little bit about a bounty. Bobby doesn't need that. That's not the character Bobby Lashley should be playing. That's a heel that is undersized, that knows he's going to get his ass kicked if he doesn't do something to help himself. Bobby's not that guy. He's the opposite of that guy. I'm with you. As far as him rolling through Cedric and Shelton, I understand why they did it, though, because those guys haven't exactly been positioned in a high level in the last several weeks. They lose their tag titles to the New Day. I know they're on the same page now, but they don't get any mic time. There's a lot of things there that point to management not being high on those guys right now in terms of positioning. Sheamus, on the other hand, has had a really good run lately. Had a bust-ass match with Drew. It makes sense that it would give Bobby a back and forth battle. It does make sense given the positioning. You got to look at the current positioning of what have you done for me lately when you look at these things. Yes, there's two men versus one man, but Sheamus has had a great run, and WWE has been very high on him lately, and rightfully so. Sheamus has done an outstanding job and has been really a key player on Raw over the last several months. Okay. As far as, you go on to say, and Roman looked pretty weak at Fastlane. Honestly, having him tap was a horrible move, and look how he won the match. He just pinned Daniel Bryan after Edge gave him both a chair shot. Weak AF. I'm freaking tired of yes, yes, yes. The yes movement is dead. Yes, it is. The yes movement is dead and gone, my friend. Please, I shouldn't say it's gone. People still enjoy it, but this isn't 2014, 2015 anymore. We're 7 years away now from that being a thing anymore. I don't need it being a resurrected thing. Although you could say, well, Hulkamania was resurrected. Yeah, well, Hulk Hogan is Hulk freaking Hogan, right? So there's a difference there. But having Roman do what he did, again, it did make him look a little vulnerable. I don't know if weak is the answer or the adjective I'd use. It made him a vulnerable heel, a lucky heel, but he was also booked pretty tough. He didn't tap until like the third or fourth application of the yes lock, and he did it subtly. He didn't tap out wildly. So his out could be that wasn't tapping. That those were my nerves and my brain dying from the lack of blood flow. Like he could come up with some medical reason. It was a twitch. It was lack of blood flow. It was very subtle and it was meant to be. So, okay. You say, lastly, I don't know what your beef is with Matt Riddle. I bet you didn't like the whole effing show RVD. Riddle can be funny. Honestly, I find his gimmick pleasant. Riddle is the 2020 RVD. I need to trademark that. I don't mind all the bros or nicknames, but maybe it's a casual wrestling fan thing. Lastly, I want to say RVD 420 says I just smoked your ass. Have a great week, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. And yeah, I probably should have said at the top of that email, this is from the Casual Wrestling Fan. So, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. So here's what I got to say about that. Matt Riddle, look, I don't know what to say. You've already heard what I have to say about him, so I don't want to duplicate my explanation. It is what it is. You're not going to convince me to like Matt Riddle. I'm not going to convince you not to like his personality. It's obnoxious. It's it's non-endearing. I don't need bro everything. You ride around on a scooter like a child, out in the middle of the street in summertime. I don't need any of that. He's a child that's also like a pothead surfer dude. but also kind of a D-bag, and everything's bro this, bro that. He doesn't come across very intelligent. He's making up nicknames. He's talking about random things. I mean, there's something not right with his character that I don't understand how he's a babyface, how we're supposed to relate to this, how we're supposed to become emotionally invested in a character that makes no damn sense and is positioned incorrectly. He should be a heel. If he was a heel, I mean, that's a different story, but man, I don't know what to say. Like, I cannot stand his character. It is up there with The Miz and Morrison together. It is that bad. It is getting worse. He's not funny to me at all. But luckily, he's really good in the ring. So, all right, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, we'll agree to disagree on that one for sure. So, all right, guys, thank the Lord. It is done with myself here. Oh, wait. Oh, good Lord. I missed one. I missed an email, but I got to do it because I will feel bad if I don't. All right. It's quick. From Varick Cohen. They say, I believe it's a guy. Hi. Do you agree with the Asuka Women's Championship talk? I feel like they're demeaning it in a very big way, though at Elimination Chamber, Lacey Evans was supposed to take the championship from Asuka and have Ric Flair the storyline lead to a WrestleMania match against Charlotte. Thank God she got pregnant. I do believe Sheamus deserves more than he's getting. He's consistently having the best matches every week, and I hope Vince will give him a bigger opportunity. I'm hoping that he beats Drew at Fastlane and have WrestleMania be a triple threat between Lashley, Drew, and Sheamus so that Drew can have that underdog babyface storyline heading into Mania so that it could redeem him for a terrible management decision giving him the free match at WrestleMania. Well, first of all, yeah, the Asuka Women's Championship, I've gone off over that many, many times on this show about how disrespectful it's been to the Raw Women's Championship and Asuka by proxy. There's no excuse for it not being on WWE TV for 6 months in terms of being defended. There's none that anyone could sell me that I'd believe. And I'm glad that the Ric Flair storyline with Charlotte never played out, and she just told him go home, and he's like, okay, and he just goes home. Which is fine. I don't need him on TV doing what he did with Charlotte. Sheamus does deserve a big spot. You know, I said that he's a B player. He is, to quote Stephanie and The Authority back in 2014, referencing Daniel Bryan, he is a B plus player. I would say he's B plus. He is very good. But is he cream of the crop? Is he the top? No. But could he have a really good run as champion as a heel? Yes, he could. You could plug Sheamus in at the top and I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't. But it's not going to be a triple threat between Lashley, Drew, and Sheamus. It's Lashley, Drew. I doubt Sheamus is going to get himself involved because what you're going to have there is 2 triple threat matches for the Universal and WWE title. I don't think WWE would do that. I just don't. Plus, people want to see who's the tougher guy, Drew or Lashley. We've already got that answer between Drew and Sheamus, and Lashley and Sheamus both have beaten Sheamus. So, logic would tell you it's got to be Drew versus Lashley. Who's the better man? Thank you so much, Varick. Okay. Whew. Okay, my voice is on the fritz. So, that said, everybody, let's get to that very first voicemail. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is Jeff from the Philippines. So let's get to Jeff and see what he has to say.
Hey Matt, this is Jeff from the Philippines. So every time the New Day try to say the name of those tag team titles in this way, WWE World Tag Team Champions, I feel like they're not taking those belts seriously. And when Xavier Woods blow the trombone, when AJ Styles was about to do the phenomenal forearm, and it really got under my skin. I was really mad about it. So why is it okay when a baby face try to distract a heel, but when a heel try to distract a baby face, it's a bad thing, you know? And have you watched Friday the 13th, part 4 to part 6? There was this main character, I think his name was Tom Jarvis, and then he tried different ways to kill Jason Voorhees. He chopped him, he drowned him in a lake, he tried to bury and burn his body. See, I was such a fan of those old horror films, even though I was born in the late 90s. Anyways, I just find it like Randy Orton is in that position when in his rivalry with the Fiend, because he's always trying to destroy the Fiend. He already burned him, but he still couldn't destroy him, and he couldn't put an end to the Fiend. And I think their match at WrestleMania should be an actual match, not cinematic. Because you see, on Raw, when Randy Orton RKO'd the Fiend, I think the Fiend did some selling. He didn't get up quickly. So those are just my thoughts, and stay safe. Bye.
Jeff, how you doing, man? Hope you're doing well all the way over there in the Philippines, thousands of miles away, literally. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, the whole deal with New Day and their WWE World Tag Team Champions. I mean, it's been old for years now. Years I've been over this. I am not a fan of the New Day gimmick, and it's not that it hasn't been successful. It's been wildly successful, more than anyone thought it could be. But it's just, yeah, I don't even know what to say about it. I'm not a fan. There is an audience. They've made a lot of money, a lot of merchandise. Kids love them, and that's great. It's just not my thing, which is fine. I understand there's things on the show that aren't going to be everything I love, because there's something for everybody, which I think is a big mistake. Because when you serve a lot of masters, you don't serve any masters, if that makes any sense. And yeah, your point about the whole trombone thing, it's done. When you look at it from a logical perspective, you're right. It's okay when a babyface does it, but when a heel does it, it's dastardly, right? But I guess it's because this storyline is presented not as super serious, right? They're kind of doing it in fun and games. Everything Xavier Woods does with the trombone is fun and games. So it's not malicious intent. I guess that's their out. Your analogy about Jason Voorhees, I kind of made that comment too about the Fiend. He looks like a hybrid of a lot of different horror characters, and Jason Voorhees was a part of that. I'm a big fan of all those Jason, or Friday the 13th, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. I mean, they've done so many remakes of Jason, and a lot of them are just cheesy good slashers. I mean, they've had so many parts for a reason. So yeah, as far as a real match, I went over this earlier in the show. Yes, they will have a real match. Does it need to be a clean, no DQ match? I don't know how it can be, but it's going to be in person. That's all I know. Has to be in person. So, alrighty, Jeff. Thank you, and let's keep rolling.
Yo, Matt, it's Brad from Pennsylvania. Was playing with the kids last night and had a real random thought because they pulled out their wrestlers, and then my son wants to watch wrestling when he plays with the wrestlers, so I put on the recording from Raw, actually, from last week. And we were watching that while they were playing, and the commercial came on for WrestleMania, and it had me think back to SummerSlam when they said you'll never see it coming, and we never saw it coming. We didn't think they were referring to Roman. We were looking at every angle that we could think of. Never did we think, Roman's coming back. So just a real random thought when I watched the commercial last night and you hear The Rock's voice come in and it says, finally. It's just a thought, because you would think Vince is going to try to do something big since fans are back for the first time. And with the host, Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil, I mean, that's not the big thing. So it's not like you were saying on your preview show, if Stone Cold hosted the show, I mean, obviously that would be huge. That would be a big fan pop. So maybe they got something up their sleeve, or should I say, hopefully they got something up their sleeve, something big, with the fans being back in attendance. I don't know. Let me know what you think. That was something that struck me last night playing with the kids. See you, buddy. Take care.
Hey, Brad. Hope all is well. That's a good thought. That's a good thought. I didn't really think about that because I hear they're at The Rock and I'm just thinking, well, it's WrestleMania, right? They're just trying to bring in the big voices, bring in the big names, even if it's just in a video package style for WrestleMania. But you would think they'd want to do something for the fans in attendance special. For those that come out for the very first time WrestleMania, for the very first time fans have been at a WWE event in over a year, you would think that they'd want to do something memorable. So could it be The Rock coming out? Could be. I wouldn't be surprised. But could you convince The Rock to come out at WrestleMania in front of, a third full building when you know that it would really be something that would attract him if it was a full packed house to have a match against Roman Reigns or whoever? But 25,000 people can certainly make more noise. I mean, I have confidence that those people there are going to be very loud, and I hope they are. I hope they're not sitting there on their hands. They are paying good money. They are traveling, most likely, to Tampa, Florida, to go to WrestleMania. They should be and hopefully are loud. So is that enough to attract The Rock? Could be. I hope they do have something big up their sleeve. Vince always has something big up his sleeve. It's WrestleMania. You gotta. And that's the number one reason why Vince decided to end the streak at 30 is because, and he said this, is that he wanted to do something big for WrestleMania and he didn't have anything. And this was the one thing he could think of, was ending the streak for Undertaker and having Brock win. So I think they will have something big. Is it The Rock? Maybe. I wouldn't mind it. So I think you're onto something. I don't know if it's specifically The Rock. If it is, great. But I'm glad you brought that up, that, we're looking at this card and going, okay, this isn't a bad card, but what's up their sleeve? Everybody needs to think about that. That's everyone's homework assignment. Okay, let's keep going. Thank you so much, Brad.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I want to talk about the Sasha Banks, Bianca, this part. I wanted this match to be the main event of WrestleMania, at least night one. Now I'm thinking probably will open the show the first night, and so I could see that happening. And then I want, Alexa to win the championship. I know Rhea Ripley's trying to come up to Raw and face Asuka right away, or Charlotte if, that'll be a triple threat. Hopefully not, but what do you think of how can Alexa be a part of that in some way in the near future this year to become the champion sometime this year? What do you think about that? What they call? Bye.
Hey, Kyle. Good to talk to you again. So Sasha Banks, number one, your point about Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main eventing. I mean, could it open the show? It could. I hope that they get a deeper semi-main position. It's not going to be the main event. They've already announced the main event for night one, which is Bobby Lashley versus Drew. So we know it's not going to main event WrestleMania night one. But it is. I mean, it's deserving of a semi-main. It's a SmackDown Women's Championship. And people have been looking forward to this moment. I think it's really a foregone conclusion that Sasha drops the belt here. I mean, they've been building Bianca for several months now. I don't think Sasha is going to carry it much longer. So early prediction that I don't think is that much of a really thought out prediction that you need to put too much thought into. Alexa Bliss, I've been calling for her having her own storyline for a while now. I know that she's about to wrap up Brandy and the Fiend. Hopefully WrestleMania is their blow off, their conclusion. And then after this, after WrestleMania, I think Alexa needs to go on her own. She needs to do her own thing. She needs to become her own path. That doesn't mean dropping the Fiend's gimmick. I mean, that means being attached to the Fiend. It means still in her current persona, but on her own path. It means doing her own thing and maybe capturing the Women's Championship. Yes. But could Rhea Ripley versus Alexa Bliss be a hot match? Absolutely. Because look, we already know Rhea Ripley and Asuka is going to be the Raw side of the main event for the women for the championship. Yeah, if you didn't know, Raw has a women's championship. I bet you didn't know that. Fun fact. But we also have Alexa Bliss, who is red hot, and it'd be fun to see the Nightmare versus Alexa Bliss right now. Imagine that. I think that's maybe SummerSlam. But boy, oh boy, whew. Yes, I would love it. I think Alexa needs to branch off and not just be the lackey who is the possessed, I guess, body that the Fiend has taken for his own. So, all right, Kyle, thank you so much. Let's get on to the next one.
Hey Matt, it's Kyle from New York again. So I watched Fastlane. I kind of felt the same way you felt about it in your review of Bosch Guy. It was alright. It was, like, most of the matches are pretty good. For me personally, like, probably the two matches of the night were probably, for me, Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus and Roman Reigns versus Dan Bryan. Those two were matches of the night for me. And also the Fiend return. I loved the Fiend return though. That was pretty freaking awesome too. Anyway, I have two questions. One of them is actually about Fastlane, and the other one's actually about SmackDown. It's like from last Friday. So I'll do the SmackDown question first. If you saw SmackDown and stuff, right? Well, yeah, of course you had the weekend review. But Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. The way Sami Zayn attacked Kevin Owens, and like, I don't know why. I feel like this to me this spells out Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Do you think it will happen at WrestleMania? I think it could, and I think it would actually be kind of fun because last time they fought, if you remember, Kevin Owens was the heel, Sami Zayn was the babyface. This time it's the opposite. Sami Zayn's the heel, Kevin Owens is the babyface. But I think it could be a fun match, and it'll be fun to see them fight again. Plus it gets them to both have a match at WrestleMania. They have something to do there. Anyway, the second question. At Fastlane, after Sasha Banks slapped Bianca Belair, when Sasha slapped her, do you think that was a full heel turn? At first I was like, this isn't, like when Sasha slapped her, at first I was like, this doesn't feel like a full heel turn. But then I noticed something. When Sasha was walking up the ramp after she slapped her, when Sasha went up the ramp, they were piping in crowd boos. They were putting in boos for, you can go back and watch it, listen closely. When Sasha's going up the ramp, they're playing in crowd boos. So if they're booing Sasha now, I think this might have been a heel turn for Sasha, which I kind of hope it is. I'm kind of happy. She's way more fun. She's way more fun as a heel to me. She's way more better as a heel. I hope that happened. Hope it was a heel turn. Anyway, I think 3 minutes is almost up, so I should go. Yeah. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Hey, Kyle from New York. So good observations here about, first of all, Sasha Banks. I'll answer your second question first. Sasha Banks, after she slapped Bianca Belair and Bianca Belair retaliated with the absolutely devastating point to the WrestleMania sign, I did not notice the boos being piped in, but that is exactly how you're going to know how people are being positioned. For all of the negative that the piped in crowd noise carries with it, that it's not genuine, it's all them playing God, and they get to just sit in the sandbox and get exactly the reaction they want. They also are tipping their hand when they pipe in the crowd noise because that's exactly how they are positioning whoever they're piping in the noise for. So listening to the noise may actually give you more of a clue as to what they're casting the characters as than rather their actions if you're maybe confused. And I will now listen very intently on Friday when Sasha Banks comes out or whatever to what that pumped in crowd noise is. Do I think it's a full heel turn? I think it's like a 3/4 heel turn. I think Sasha Banks, number one, I think Sasha Banks has been heel since she's been with Bayley. There's been no babyface turn since she's been SmackDown Women's Champion. No one will convince me of that otherwise. She's been extremely unlikable. As you guys know, I'm not a Sasha Banks babyface that's supposed to be a babyface, but is really an obnoxious heel fan. I think she's excellent, much better as a heel, as you said. I'm a big fan of her in the ring, no problem, right? Like, I love Sasha Banks. I just think she's completely miscast as a babyface. So I think that this was a 3/4 heel turn, but again, your clue, to your point, is going to be the pumped-in crowd noise because that is the reaction that they want from whatever's going on. So that has to tip their hand on who's who and whose cast is what. So the other point about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, man, if this happens, I'm fine with it. I think that they didn't know what to do with Sami or Kevin, and they're thinking, we don't know what to do with these guys. WrestleMania's around the corner. We know they're really good friends, and they've had really good matches in the past. So let's just stick them together. That's it. I think that's the extent of it. So we know they're going to have a really good match. As you said, the roles are now flipped with Kevin as a babyface, Sami as a heel. If you remember, though, because I remember, when these two battled several years ago in WWE, when the roles were reversed, it was billed as their final match ever between these two. But we're all supposed to forget that. Go back and watch. I honestly don't know the year, and I'm too lazy to Google it right now. But if you guys Google it and look for Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, their final match was billed as their final match ever. And here we are with their not final match, right? But I'm not going to rant about it. It's just one of those things that, I mean, just tacking on, right? Tacking on to the things that WWE doesn't follow their own rules for. So, all right. But I'm looking forward to it. If this match is going to happen, I mean, we're only a few weeks out. Whoever's in a program with somebody right now, that's your WrestleMania opponent, period. So, all right. Kyle from New York, thank you so much. Couple of voicemails left, guys, and we'll wrap up the show. Here we go.
Hey, man, it's Justin from Maryland. So I was just listening to your Raw review, and you stated that Daniel Bryan may be put into the triple threat match or it's going to take the fall to Edge. I still think that Roman Reigns should win. I think that Daniel Bryan is going to take the fall, but I think Roman Reigns is going to win. And I think that they should have a feud with Daniel Bryan and Edge, so, they can finish out their problems and then have Roman Reigns fight someone else. Maybe Edge can win the Money in the Bank or something, but I don't know. I still think Roman Reigns is going to keep the belt because if he loses the belt, then what are you going to do? You're going to have him going up against a heel Edge because they're both heels. I think that Edge is slowly turning heel, especially after what he did at the last pay-per-view. So I'm just interested to hear what you think about that. And also, I think that they're definitely setting up Drew McIntyre to beat Bobby Lashley. They're definitely trying to make Bobby Lashley a heel now. He's trying to find guys in the back to take out Drew McIntyre. And they're making Drew McIntyre look as strong as he can. He beat Sheamus. He beat the Hurt Business in a 2-on-1 handicap match. So it definitely feels like that they're trying to set up Drew McIntyre to win the title back. And hopefully he does. I like him more with the title than Bobby Lashley. It's just, I don't know, maybe if Bobby Lashley won it at a pay-per-view, I would feel a little better about it. But, hey, man, thanks. Thanks for the call, and I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, Justin. Good to hear from you. Good points here. And I'll go through them piece by piece here. Roman Reigns, could he beat Daniel Bryan in that match? Look, I think most fans will agree that Daniel Bryan is going to be inserted into this match to take the pinfall. Whether it's Edge pinning Bryan to win the belt or Roman pinning Bryan to retain the belt, it protects both Roman and Edge in either scenario because Bryan is the scapegoat. I believe that's really the case. You believe that it's going to be the opposite. Now, the case for that is strong as well that you bring up, that Roman could pin Bryan to retain, thereby putting more heat on himself and extending what has been a career-defining 8 months of best 8 months of Roman Reigns' career, period. It has been absolutely magnificent what he has done since he's returned, since SummerSlam, when we never saw it coming. And having him defeat Bryan to retain, where Edge isn't even involved in the decision, is a great heel move. Again, your case is very strong. Because also, like you said, why would you end this when you have a really historic run by Roman Reigns? Edge can't work week to week. He's not at that age anymore. But my fear is, while I want your scenario to play out, I want that to be the case where Roman retains because he's doing such a great job as a heel. But I also want to see him get his ass kicked, so I'm not like saying I would cheer for him. I would still boo him because I genuinely dislike his character. But I love traditional old school heels, and Roman is approaching that. He is at that. And you don't see that come along very often. I mean, it's like once every 5 to 10 years you see a true heel come along. Maybe even more rare than that. But I want your scenario to play out, but I'm fearful that WWE is going to look at this and go, well, it's a feel-good story. It's WrestleMania. we got to have, and Vince is thinking that we got to have the fans go home happy and they need to put a smile on their damn faces. Like we're children and need our cookie to feel good. I mean, I don't need to be treated like that. I want to be pissed off. I want anger. I don't always need to have a smile on my face at the end of the day with wrestling. I want to be angry at the character and pay money to see a babyface beat the living crap out of that heel. I want that. But Vince knows it's WrestleMania. He's going to want a feel-good story. And having Edge capture that belt with the whole backstory behind him of, it's been how many years? Edge has come full circle. The redemption of Edge. All this. I feel like they would choose that over Roman retaining, even though Roman retaining is the better decision. I agree with you. But as far as Bobby Lashley looking weak, yeah, I went over this earlier too. If you've listened this far, I don't like the way that they positioned Bobby Lashley this past week, needing help. He doesn't need help. I don't, I know that you want Drew to get the belt back because he's better as champion. At the same time, we haven't even gotten a chance to breathe with Bobby Lashley as champion yet. We don't know truly what his run is like. He's only been champion, a couple of weeks? So we need more sample size. For me anyway, I need more of a sample size to determine whether it's a good or bad thing that he's champion, or whether it's better for him to retain at WrestleMania than it is for Drew to regain it. So as far as Edge turning slowly heel, I saw flashes of that. I think we have. You pointed out at Fastlane with him, and that look in his eye and attacking both guys. We saw it. I mean, he was justified in attacking Bryan because he thought Bryan attacked him. I think we will see a heel Edge, as I mentioned earlier in the show. I think it's going to be late 2021. Maybe SummerSlam at the absolute earliest, but an Edge heel turn is inevitable. I want to see the heel Edge. Edge made a career on being a heel, not a babyface. Edge made his career as a heel. I love him as babyface, and he can play both. Not too many guys and gals can play both very well. Usually one tends to be better at one than the other. Edge is great at both, but man, we'd be missing out if we didn't get to see a heel Edge in his final run before he truly calls it a day. All right, here comes the final voicemail, guys, and my voice is saying hallelujah because I am starting to feel it. But here it comes, the final voicemail of our mailbag.
Hey, Matt, this is Logan from Portland, Oregon. I just wanted to give a call, long-time listener here, helping me get through at work, so I very much appreciate the work you guys do. I wanted to talk about Matt Riddle. You always hate on Matt Riddle a lot, which I totally understand, but as someone who lives somewhere where marijuana is legal, and as someone who smokes a lot of marijuana, I have to say that Matt Riddle, at least to some degree, connects with me because I don't know. When I'm stoned and watching wrestling, it makes me laugh. I have to say that most of the stuff he says is really stupid, and I agree with you that his character needs some work. But I don't hate him by any means because the character makes me laugh and reminds me of myself when I was younger, smoking a lot of weed. So anyway, that's all I really got to say. Thanks, Matt, for your work. Look forward to listening to the Mailbag and all the other shows this week. Thanks for helping me get through work. Thank you.
Well, I don't think anyone could have guessed that the final question would have been about marijuana, right? But it is. Here we are. Logan, thank you for calling all the way from Portland, Oregon. I'm glad we get you through your work, whatever that may be. I know I do the same thing when I'm at work as well. I mean, I'm working from home, but when I did have to go to the office, I totally did the same thing with wrestling podcasts. So, now, first of all, I'm glad he relates to you. I'm really like, I don't care if anyone smokes. I could care less. It's legal in like half the United States. I don't care. I mean, it's whatever. Everyone does what they want to do. So cool. I'm glad he relates to you. For real. That's good. That's what characters in wrestling should do. That you should see a reflection of yourself or who you want to be or whatever, the best part of you reflected in a character that you can live vicariously through on TV. Why do you think Stone Cold Steve Austin was so damn successful? One of the reasons, one of many. Very relatable. Everyone wants to beat up their boss. Well, most people, right? Everyone can relate to at least being frustrated with their boss. Now, Matt Riddle, again, he's not overtly smoking on air, right? Like, He's not sitting there, sitting there with a doobie and, smoking, right? Like, we know this. But does he actually smoke pot in real life? Of course. It's been confirmed. He does. He just comes across as kind of a goofball, though. Take the marijuana out. Pretend that wasn't even said, and that knowledge doesn't exist that he smokes. Again, it wasn't said on air. We just know this about his personal life. He still comes across like a total goof and kind of in character, making up things that don't make sense. He's also the way he looks. And look, I know people go, "Oh, your body's shaming. You're going to judge somebody on the way they look." You know what? Yeah, I am, because it's wrestling. That's what you do. How you look is a big part of your success or failure. So yes, I'm going to judge you on how you look, because that's what you do in wrestling. And how Matt Riddle looks, he's got a face you want to punch. He's the way he speaks, his mannerisms, his childlike things he does. Again, take the marijuana out. For me, I don't care whether you smoke or not. If he's acting like that on air, it's very off-putting for me. And again, it's not channel changing. It's just kind of like, dude, what is this? Who is this appealing to? I don't know. So anyway, Logan, I'm glad that he appealed to you, that he related to you. I mean that in all sincerity. That's what wrestling's about. If you find him funny, cool. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. You're not going to convince me otherwise. But it's interesting, and I'm glad somebody took me up on my offer to call in and to give me a reason why Matt Riddle is appealing from a personality perspective. In ring, we all know, is not really debatable. He's very good in the ring. It's all about his personality that Vince now looks at as a comedy break. And by the way, he's your United States champion. Don't forget about that. So that kind of makes it worse, right? That he's carrying the thing around like a sling. Oh, God. All right. Well, anyway, guys, before I start ranting and my voice goes completely off the rails, thank you to everybody who called in, took the time, and also emailed us and DM'd us. Again, here is my information. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, wrestling_audio. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, it's WWE_podcast. If you want to email us, it's realWWEpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to call us, keep it 3 minutes or less, and it literally will cut you off at 3 minutes. 518-952-0247. That is it for me this week, guys. I won't be back until Sunday night. So thank you to everybody. Hit us up on Patreon if you want to get an ad-free experience for $1 a month. And go give us that 5-star rating and review. Really helps out the show. So thank you to everybody. As always, I'll talk to you next time.